Hello?
Hello, Adrian.
Yeah?
This is Dustin Wilmus from KMSU Radio in Minnesota.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm not doing bad at all, thank you. How are you doing?
I'm excellent. First of all, I'm here with my co-host, Ton.
Hey there, Adrian. How you doing?
Hey, how you doing there, mate?
I'm great. It's exciting. We got you on the line here.
Okay. Well, it's nice to be on.
Yeah. Well, yeah. If you're ready, we'll go ahead and get started with some questions. And you are an awesome old wrestler that we really respect, and we would like to ask you some questions about it.
Okay, mate.
Well, I guess we'll start with how did you get into the business? How did you start wrestling?
Well, I always wanted to be a professional wrestler from the first time I ever picked up an American boxing and wrestling magazine back when I was about, 12, 13 years of age, and saw colorful characters like Don Leo Jonathan and Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, who were my absolute favorites. I was always told, you're too small, too young to be a professional wrestler, but I wouldn't have it. I was also told that you couldn't make a living as a professional wrestler. There was no such thing. Anyway, my dad had me out of school working in a coal mine when I was 15, and you can imagine how much I liked that. You know, I need a spotlight, not darkness. But anyway, I worked in a coal mine for just over a year. Then I ran away from home, went to live in London when I was 16, and I had my first professional match when I was 16 in 1957. And because I admired Don Leo Jonathan so much, the first name that I wrestled under was Kid Carson Jonathan. I wrestled for the Independents, a small-time promotion for about 4 years. And eventually I got my big break with Joint Promotions. They were actually running 4,600 shows, I think it was, a year.
Wow.
In Britain at the time. And to be honest, I only got my break, not because I was a marvelous wrestler at the time. I mean, I thought I was. I got my break really more because they needed guys to fill their cards. So that's how I got my break. And I would anticipate one of your next questions is like, where did the image come from? Well, I got to be a very good wrestler. You know, I know I always blow on trumpet and everything like that, but I got to be a very good wrestler. But unfortunately for me, well, fortunately or unfortunately, whichever way you look at it, I was a very good wrestler in a land of great wrestlers. They had some absolutely fantastic wrestlers in Britain at that particular time, and I needed something different if I was going to stand out from the crowd. And like I said, I always admired Nature Boy Buddy Rogers, and I decided to sort of look more like him, get myself the look. So I bleached my hair blonde, started getting fancy jackets and what have you. And there was a writer, a Canadian writer that used to write all the magazines and things like that. He was the first who actually dubbed me Nature Boy Adrian Street, and that's when I started getting getting more outlandish robes and all the rest of it, and that was the way I stood out from the crowd. But the thing is, it also made me a bigger attraction, which meant that I was on with bigger and bigger names, and that's the way you learn your craft, is by you get to be a main event wrestler by wrestling main event wrestlers. And that's it in a nutshell, really.
And is that right around the time when Miss Linda came into play as your valet, when you started doing the Adrian Street gimmick?
I had my first pro wrestling match in 1957. I never met Linda until 1969, but we've been together just about 24/7 ever since then. I first met Linda. I've always been very interested in animals, especially sort of exotic animals. And I went to an exhibition in Britain, the Ideal Home exhibition, and they had an exhibition there on marine tropical fish. And I'd never seen those at a zoo before, and I made my mind up straight away that I had to have those in my home. And I set up like a 70-gallon aquarium, what have you. Then when there was only one place in London at the time where you could actually get those saltwater tropicals from. And the store that I went to buy them was where Linda worked at the time, and that's how I met her. I always said that she always sold me the sick ones, so they'd die, and I'd have to go back there for more. That's how she got that's how she got hooked into me in the first place.
Well, and obviously as you went on and became, the exotic Adrian gimmick, and it got more flamboyant, was there ever any issues you've had with other wrestlers? I know when you used to, kiss them in the ring and that sort of thing, did that ever cause problems?
It caused a lot of problems, but the thing is, there's a lot of wrestlers that didn't like it for various reasons, and I can understand why, but the thing is, I didn't become a wrestler for them. I became a wrestler for me. And I've only got one way of doing things, and that's my way. And, I'm not really that... I don't care whether other people like me or not, because I like myself enough to make up for all of them.
That's great. Beautiful words. Yeah, I thought it was hilarious kissing guys to stop them from Pena. That was amazing. How did you then make the transition? Like, what got you into the States?
Well, quite honestly, the golden age of professional wrestling, as far as I'm concerned, it was the best wrestlers that I've ever come across in all my sort of traveling around the world. But unfortunately, there was a guy called Max Crabtree who was a small-time promoter in the big-time promotions. He'd sort of run a number of shows and things like that, and I thought he was very good at doing it. But they made him into... they give him the reins and everything like that when some of the older, more genuine, proper promoters start retiring. They put him in charge of joint promotions. He had a big, fat, flabby brother who was an absolute coward. It's funny because when I was still wrestling this kid, Tarzan Jonathan, back in the late 50s, there was a guy called Shirley Crabtree who was absolutely... They actually put the British title on him, but this was the independents, not the main promoters. And when they did that, there was a little guy, 5'6", called Bert Azarati, but the most dangerous guy I think has ever been in the ring. He would really, he would really hurt you. But anyway, he started turning up and challenging Big Daddy because he was becoming ashamed of the business because they actually put the belt on somebody like that. Well, he actually retired for about 10 or 11 years because he was so terrified of Bert Azarati. But anyway, Bert Azarati was probably died by this time. They brought him back into the business because the Shirley Crabtree, they ended up calling him, naming him Big Daddy, was the brother of Max Crabtree. So he brought his brother back into business, had him beating guys that had never been beaten, and then he'd have him beaten two guys that had never been beaten. And he'd do it in about 2 minutes because he was too fat, flabby, and unfit to last any more time than that in the ring. You'd push him on his arse, and he'd rock himself to sleep trying to get up. But anyway, they made him into a champion. Or they tried to make him into a world champion, but nobody would lose the title to him because he was that bad. In actual fact, I'm an author now. I've written 5 books. All these stories that I'm telling you now are in minute detail in my books. But you'll read in the book that is the reason in the end. The thing is, where I was so proud to be a professional wrestler, I would be with people like Big Daddy, made into a superstar, and people actually started to believe in him, was so obnoxious to me that I thought, I'm getting out of this, before Mad Captain Max Crabtree takes the bloody takes a ship British wrestling to the bottom of the bloody ocean, like with the past he's got with his big fat flappy brother, But anyway, that's when I decided, just like Alexander the Great, I've always admired, I thought to myself, there's new world, there's got to be new worlds to conquer. And what better world to conquer than a new world? So I went to Canada first of all, then I came into the States, which was my main. And you know something, even though I started wrestling in Britain in 1957 when I was just 16 years of age, I've wrestled professionally for a lot longer in the States than I ever did in Europe.
Yeah, I know. That's what we're most familiar with is your work
Yeah.
in the States, yeah.
In actual fact, I had my last professional match last year on the 9th of March last year. So I've had a 56-year career as a professional wrestling, as a
Wow.
professional wrestler. I've had 15,000 professional matches because in the early days wrestling for the big times, I was wrestling as many as 40 times in 1 month.
Wow.
Yeah, I can see where you'd have enough to write 5 books then with all those matches.
Yeah, yeah. Some people have said like that I should have had an editor and everything like that to write my books. To sort of fine tune my books and everything like that. But I don't agree with that because one thing, my books are my creation. They're my baby. I don't want anybody else messing with them. And excuse me for being arrogant because that is what I am. But I don't think there's an editor in the world that knows more about wrestling than I do. And there's definitely not an editor in the world that knows more about me than I do. And like I said, I've only got one way of doing things. That's my way.
Sure.
So for better or worse, that's my story. And I had nothing but good reviews from people who either want to know about me or want to really know more about the business.
So where can people buy your books? Are they on like Amazon and?
Yeah, they get them on Amazon. They're on Nook. They're on Kindle.
And if they look up Exotic Adrian, it'll come right up for them?
Yes, yeah.
Beautiful.
And also, if they want signed copies, if they look at Rupert Bear on eBay, or if they look on our website, which is Bizarre Bazaar. In actual fact, if they look on Facebook, they'll find all the information I'm telling you now. But that is what I'm doing now. I'm an author. We still make wrestling gear and stuff for showbiz people and what have you. In actual fact, if you saw the movie The Wrestler with Mickey Rourke, we made all the costumes for Mickey Rourke and all the other wrestlers in that movie.
Wow.
Yeah, we make a lot of clothes and things like that for showbiz people, circus people. But, most of all, I'm an author now. Ex-professional wrestler. I didn't think I'd ever say that. It's funny because all my life I knew that one day I'd be standing in the ring for the last time. And I dreaded that, the thought of that, like death itself. But now that I've actually had my career and everything like that, I've held 4 different world titles in 3 different weight divisions. I don't know anybody that did that. And getting back to that Nature Boy thing too, as far as I'm concerned, Nature Boy Buddy Rogers was the Nature Boy. I just picked up the reins after him. He got to be a very good friend of mine actually, which really thrilled me. But I was wrestling all over Europe as the Nature Boy 15 years before Ric Flair had his first professional match. And as far as Adrian Jonathan is concerned, I'd admired him since I was a 12-year-old kid. I never met him until 2005 in the Cauliflower Alley Club in Las Vegas, and Linda didn't know, but I proposed to her at the banquet at the Cauliflower Alley Club. We've been together since 1969, but I actually proposed to her in 2005. She agreed to marry me, and Don Leo Jonathan was my best man.
Wow.
And the ordained Catholic priest who married us used to be a professional wrestler, Jason Saunderson. He used to wrestle as the bear man.
Whole wrestling wedding.
No, the wolf man, sorry. He used to wrestle as wolf man. And now then he was an ordained Catholic priest. He's now a bishop, and he's on the short list for being for being the Bishop of America.
Wow.
And it's funny because I told him that he was my vote for the next pope. He says to me, really, Adrian, he said, how would I keep all those, how would I be, he said, I've got two dogs and four children. He said, how would I be able to keep those white robes clean? I said to him, I said, give me the key to the Vatican wine cellar. I'll get Linda to do all your laundry.
Oh, that's good. So, I guess getting back a little bit to the wrestling, you had a feud with Randy Savage for a while.
Oh yeah, he was. I would say he was one of my top opponents. In I've wrestled most of them, but he was one of my top opponents in the States. I would say I had some great matches against him.
And then obviously, like, he ended up going on to work with the McMahons and WWF. Was that ever in the cards, or did they ever approach you at all on that? Or
yes, it did, but I would have been happy to have worked for him. And when they approached me, first of all, they said, like, we want you to be a manager. We've got a British tag team coming over. We're going to call them the British Skinheads and everything like that. And we want you to be their manager. And I said, yeah, great. I to myself, I'll be, I don't mind doing that. I mean, basically, I'm a wrestler, no more, no less. That's all I want to be. Would prefer to be a wrestler than a manager or anything like that. But at the same time, they pay well. And I thought to myself, yeah, I can be bought, even though I prefer to wrestle. Until they described exactly what the gimmick was going to be. And that was not only a skinhead, but like a racist neo-Nazi sort of type skinhead and stuff like that. And even though their characters are very, 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 very make-believe, there's still a lot of people who would believe that sort of thing.
Sure.
And if there's one thing I'm not, it's a racist. I've always been proud, in actual fact, that Martin Luther King Jr.'s dream is still alive and well in my chosen profession. I haven't known sort of racialism either side of the Atlantic. And quite honestly, that is absolutely obnoxious to me. I'm not a racist. I would not want to be known as a racist, any way, shape, or form. Having said that, I haven't got a lot of good things to say about the French, only because I've wrestled there, and I found them to be very ignorant, cocky people. Obviously, I'm not in love with the Muslims for obvious reasons. But having said that, just like I love animals, and I'm so happy that there are so many beautiful and different types of animals in the world. I'm glad that there's different species of people in the world. Makes the world a lot more interesting. And there's no way on earth that, like I say, I can be bought, but not for anything like that. I'm not a racist. I never will be a racist. I love the fact that there's black, red, brown, yellow, pink sometimes.
yeah.
The thing is, so I refused to do it. I said, no. I've been proud of what I've done for too long to do something I'd be ashamed of to end my career,
Yeah, I mean, it's respectable for sure. I think a lot of people during that era, it didn't matter what deal they gave them, they just jumped ship to ride that train. So that's respectable that you said no. What do you think of what wrestling has kind of become today in the States, what the WWE has turned into?
Very unfortunate. To me, it's run parallel to what the Crabtrees did to wrestling in Britain. The business is not at all what it used to be, and it's not the wrestlers' fault. Because the thing is, the WWE and a lot of the other organizations in the States, right now as we speak, I've got some guys that are bigger, better looking and everything like that than we ever were back in the day when wrestling was wrestling. And I do not blame those guys at all. I mean, if you took those guys back in time, when wrestling was wrestling, and they learned the proper way, they would be as big a superstars and everything like that as they ever are now. The thing is, the essence have been taken right out of it. They've got bloody script writers and everything like that to write stories for them. cleverer than I am because I couldn't remember all that kind of stuff. And the thing is, that is not what a business is about. You know, if you're a good wrestler and a good performer, what you do is you step out of the dressing room, and the second you step out of the dressing room, your match has actually begun, as far as I'm concerned. Because, I mean, myself, for instance, I'd step outside the dressing room and strike a pose. That pose is intended to evoke a response from the audience. I'd get the response from the audience, and then I would respond to the response. And that is how you actually get it. It's like an intercourse between you and the people.
Right.
You know, I mean, oh, boo, 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 and all the rest of it. And I'd give them that look and say, you peasants, I descend from Mount Olympus to appear before you. It's like casting pearl before the swine. And you give them that look and they respond even more. Go in the ring and do the same thing, and I do the same thing to my opponent. The response I get from him would give me a reason to get nasty, to get spiteful. And the thing is, you know, you do that with the people. You present a situation, you do something, you give them that look and everything like that to allow them into the thing. In actual fact, you're performing, and so are the people. And the only difference, really, between a good wrestler and the audience is that the wrestler gets paid to perform and the people pay to perform.
Yeah, we definitely miss that older side of the business also.
Well, that being said, Adrian, when you didn't jump ship to WWF, but they kind of created their version of you in a sense when they had, you know, adorable Adrian Adonis and then obviously Goldust later on. Were you flattered by that, or did it bother you that they kind of stole your gimmick?
No. I mean, it you know, the thing is, I wasn't flattered by it because the thing is, I think that I've done that better than anybody's ever done it in the history of professional wrestling.
Right.
I wasn't flattered at all by any of them because I can't say any of them were very good copies. But at the same time, I got whenever any of those, say Adrian Adonis and Goldust and anybody else, has ever done those things, and obviously sort of try to emulate myself. I had so much reaction from different magazines, newspapers, magazines, have all phoned me up and want to talk to me and interview me with my reaction. And I don't know if they've been disappointed with my response or not, because they expect me to be angry and all that. And I've said, no, I really don't mind. For one thing, I think the gimmick or the image is too good to waste. I'm not doing it anymore because I've retired last year, so I don't care. I really don't mind who does it. And the thing is, I said, look what's happening now. Every time somebody does, I said, I get all you guys calling me up, interviewing me and asking me, like what I think about it. So thanks to them, I'm getting another 15 minutes. So that's fine.
One thing we have to ask you, I think my favorite part of your career was the music videos that you made. How did that come about with releasing the albums and that?
Well, the thing is, I actually wrote and performed those things. I made a couple of single records. I think I had about 4 tracks at the time. And I decided I wanted to go in the ring to my own music, not sort of other people's music or sort of anything like that. And it struck me that when you're in the States, you're working for a certain promotion. You've worked yourself up from appearing there in the first place. It didn't take me very long to get people's attention and what have you. But then I found that going to a new territory, that you'd actually need to appear on TV and everything like that for a few times before I actually got the attention enough and everything like that.
Sure.
To be main event and where the money is, and obviously that's what I wanted. So I got the idea of if I created some music videos, a number of them, I could send those whenever I got an affirmative or whenever I got a call from a territory that wanted me to come in there. I'd say okay, give me a few weeks. what I would do is send them the music videos immediately to show on TV for those few weeks before, while I was actually finishing up in the territory I was presently in. So by the time I actually went there and hit there, I was already a big star. So it's main event right off the bat. Especially when I did that sort of something very strange about a cowboy to send into places like Oklahoma and Texas and everything is, who's this guy like that's sort of knocking cowboys and all that kind of stuff. So I mean, people wanted to lynch me before I even got there. So it was great.
Yeah, we definitely love that stuff. I know it's still available on your website too. You can order the album still.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I would recommend the listeners out there definitely grab a copy of that.
Yes.
Yeah, I've got one actually that I've got all my music videos is on one. There's a couple of matches on there as well. I think you see me Savage and Savage on there, and Annihilating Austin Idol. The Idol in his own mind, and I'm taking a TV title off Terry Taylor with a big kiss.
That's great.
Defend yourself at all times, Terry, there.
Well, Adrian, it's really been great talking to you today. Is there anything you wanted to add before we let you go?
Buy my books. It's all in there.
There it is.
Excellent.
Okay, great talking to you guys.
Yeah, you too. Thanks so much.
Have a good one.
All right, you too. Bye-bye.
Okay, bye now.
Bye-bye.